We're here in just outside of downtown Des Moines. We're at a Habitat for Humanity house. We do about 13 of these a year, and we're going to be taking you through the steps of HVAC, or heating and cooling. HVAC stands for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So once, said Habitat is going to be starting a house, what they do is submit a blueprint to us so we can design an HVAC system. So if you wanted to come over here, we'll show you what that looks like. So in the heating and cooling, there's multiple avenues that you can go down. You can go down the CAD design route, you can do new construction, you can do residential replacements, and you can also do service work. So the design side of things looks very similar to this. So they'll give us a house. We'll actually CAD out the house on a program called WriteSoft, and then we'll draw it out on another program called SketchUp. What this does is allows the installers to be able to understand fully what exactly they're installing and how they're going to be installing it. Gives them kind of an idea before they get to the job site on what's going on. It also allows estimators to do a proper takeoff, so the guys have the right materials when they come out to the job site. So once this is all complete and it's bid out, Habitat accepts the bid, and then we move on to the rough-in stage. Rough-in stage is the roughest side of things, I guess you can say. So there's no insulation, sometimes there's no windows or anything like that, but now is the time to actually start getting the big power tools out, cutting our holes, and installing the ductwork. So let's go inside. So now that we're inside the house, we can go and take a look that the guys are starting to hang their boots, and this is what it looks like. And when you go into your house, you look up, normally you just see registers on the walls. But behind the registers and behind the drywall, this is what you'd see. This is flex duct up here, which is required to have an R value when you're up in an attic space. When you're down in conditioned space, like in between floors, like your basement and your main floor, that's when we're actually running sheet metal, and insulation is not really required. So here's a boot, a supply boot, so this would be blowing out air. And then usually on the walls, horizontally or vertically, are your returns, which is sucking air back to your system. So on top of hanging your flex work and hanging your boots, so now we're into the floor-to-floor side of things. So we put a template down, we mark this all out, and then we cut a 4x10 hole, and then hang a sheet metal boot and nail it to the subflooring. And then now that there's a hole there, when they lay carpet or anything down, they'll be able to feel that, cut it out, and that's where they put the register at. Now we can go downstairs and take a look at what they're doing to hook those boots up to your furnace location. I guess I should say, since we're down the main floor here, the ventilation part of heating and cooling would be your bathroom bath fans. So when you have all that humidity or moisture in your bathroom, we actually install the venting to the outdoor unit. So the electricians will put the bath fans in, and then we'll vent them from the bath fan to the outdoors. Or in this scenario, we have a fresh air ventilator where everything gets piped into that. So now here's what you can see is a boot that was actually nailed up from up above that you can see. And what will happen is we'll actually have a 6-inch pipe that will be screwed onto this and then running back straight down the floor joist to the ductwork here. Right now the guys, you can see you have the furnace set, and then they're starting on the return air drop. So when I said on the walls where they have a register or a grill, where the air is getting sucked in, the air is getting sucked in, it goes into this ductwork here, and then it comes this direction, and then down. This is called the return air drop, and then it goes through a filter here, and then it goes down and up into the furnace. Right here is what you see is called an A coil, and the coil actually in the summertime will remove the heat from the air. So when you're in your house and you feel cold air, the air conditioner is not cooling the air, it's removing the heat from the air. And when you remove the heat, the air just so happens to be cooler. So that's what the purpose of an A coil is. Then it goes up through the blower, and then comes up into the plenum, and then you have a supply duct. And so that supply duct will run the length of the house, and then that's what will hook up to each of those boots or those holes in the floor that you see. So that is basically what new construction is you have a blank surface, and then you're installing a heating and cooling system. Another route you can go is residential replacement. So you're going into existing homes and tearing out an old furnace or an old air conditioner outside. So what you do is, all of this is braced up. So what you do is unscrew the plenum from the furnace itself, pull the furnace out, install the new furnace, and then rewire it and make sure it's transitioned in properly to the existing system. So a lot of people like residential replacement because you're in and out at a new house every single day. You're constantly, it's something different every single day. Whereas new construction, it is a lot cleaner, and you also have a blank canvas to create what I call artwork when it comes to sheet metal. If you're not very hands-on, or you don't like to build things per se, if you just can't do it, but you do enjoy the idea of like low voltage wiring, or if you're into computers, then service work might be there for you as well. If you look up into the furnace here, you see a lot of low voltage wiring. Believe it or not, things go bad at times. So what it takes a service tech to come in with a series of very tuned in tools like multimeters or just anything. They find out what the issue is within the furnaces. So if sheet metal work isn't for you or anything like that, there's always the service side of things as well. So like I said, heating and cooling, you have design, you have install, you have replacement, and then you have service work. So that was a pretty quick version of, so what we have over here is Joe is getting out here, is a fresh air ventilator. So, are you going to take it over your table? I don't care. Yeah, let's do that. We should plan this a little bit better. So what we have here is a fresh air ventilator. So that in construction in today's day and age, they're building extremely, extremely tight. And so what's actually happening is your houses are pulling into a negative pressure. So these aren't new to the industry, but they're newer to the industry within the past 10 to 15 years or so. What this does is it pulls in fresh air from outside, brings it inside your house, and exhausts the stale air outside your house. So all your bathroom fans will hook up to this, and then it'll exhaust all the bad, moist air out of the house and bring in fresh air into the house. Also, along with houses being so tight, hairsprays, Febreze, all those chemicals that you're spraying to make it smell good aren't necessarily good for your body. So what this does is it kind of cleans the air out. Inside here, you'll see that there is a filter. If I can get it undone here. So this is frozen shut actually, so that's how cold it is out here. But anyway, these guys don't always work in the frigid temperatures. We have heaters here, so don't be scared off about working in the elements in construction. So, all right, now that it's open here, here's the energy core. And so when the air comes in from the outside, it gets filtered here. And then it comes up through the core and then this way into the house. And then your air from the inside your house comes this direction through the core and then up and out. And when this air crosses each other, it never comes into contact with one another, but it's like a pipe inside of a pipe. It'll actually transfer 75% of the heat from inside your house. So that means you're not dumping in 100% outdoor air, cold air, that temperature. You're going to gain some heat gain off of the outgoing air. So this is a Panasonic system here. They're great for houses. Every house should have one. So that's the ventilation side of heating and cooling. So we have the heating, which is your furnace. We have ventilation, which is your ERV or an HRV. And then you have your AC unit, which was the coil that I was showing you guys. Do you have any questions from here, or?
Yeah, just a reminder to those that are watching today to go ahead and use the chat function to enter any questions. You did show us the filter. How often should those filters be changed?
It all depends. So the 4-inch filters, as you can see here, these are 4-inch pleated filters here. So as you can see, if you were to take this all apart and then fan it out, you'd have a lot of surface area. Most people in the houses have like a 1-inch, so this is 4 inches wide. A lot of people have 1-inch filters. When they have the 1-inch pleated filters, those are actually bad for your furnace, so if you're using those, stop. Get the cheaper ones that you can see right through, and then change them once a month. These 4-inch filters though, because of the surface area, they can last anywhere from 6 months to a year. Just because they're oversized and they just last that much longer. The filter itself is actually too big for, not too big, but it could handle more than what this blower can push. So the bigger the blower, the more surface area that you want. If that makes sense.
We also had another question that came through the chat. I think it was referencing the vent. Where exactly does that go in reference to like the furnace or the AC unit?
I think they were talking about this unit here.
This unit right here?
Yes.
So this is actually a standalone unit. This is its own separate unit. And this can either hang from the wall or hang on the wall. And then the ductwork itself just goes into it. The air from the outside is actually dumping into your return air, so that can go through your furnace and then be conditioned as well. So yeah, this ventilation system and then your heating system are two separate systems.
And they installed the boot over there.
We also have a first-year apprentice here. His name is Derek. If you guys have any questions for him, like what made him, or you just want to come over, Derek? Derek is from, just give a background of where you're from and what made you get into
I was born here in Des Moines. I just graduated last year from Valley High School. I started here back in November, late November, and it's a big change. You're learning a lot every day. I'm not used to the cold weather, but it's a fun job. It helps knowing a lot of people, and you meet a lot of people also. So
what does your day-to-day look like? Is it you're doing the same thing every day, or are you changing every day?
No, every day is something new. We're either doing a replacement or we're going to a new construction. We're either installing 1 or 2 furnaces in a big old house. It's something new every day. You're not looking at the same thing, so it's definitely different.
Yeah, you can even be from, like you said, new construction, or
Yeah.
you can be hanging a garage heater.
Yep.
Or sometimes we get remodels that come in and that need a kitchen exhaust hood.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so we'll vent a kitchen exhaust hood as well.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any questions for Derek?
That was a question, yep.
Yeah, they wanted to know what made Derek interested in the HVAC as a career pathway. How did you learn about it? How did you decide to venture into that as a career?
Well, when I got out of high school, I had a lot of thinking, like, what am I gonna do now? You know, all I have is time. And I don't know, my dad has been friends with Joe, the guy that I work with, for a long time, and he kind of, you know, gave me the opportunity of getting on as a helper and, you know, doing that. But it's a trade, you know, it's a skilled trade, and it'll last you a lifetime. I mean, you only learn so much, but it's really beneficial, so.
And that's the reason how I sell heating and cooling on getting into this trade as a skilled trade is you live in Iowa. You're always going to have cold weather. You're always going to have super hot weather in the summertime.
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
you're always going to be needed. Heating and cooling is never, it's almost recession proof. You're always going to be needed here. So
Yeah.
if you're looking to get into a specific skilled trade, HVAC is the way to go. I mean, but
Yeah.
I'm biased though. So
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't think I was gonna be doing this, that's for sure, but it's you know, after the day's over and all said and done, you feel like you've accomplished something at least. I'm learning something new every day, so yeah.
And you just mentioned that you're a fairly recent high school graduate. What classes, what information from high school do you see carrying over to this career? What would you have maybe paid more attention to in high school, knowing now that you're in this career pathway?
I'd probably say pay attention more. I was in carpentry classes, welding classes, mechanics classes, and I never really paid them, you know, that much mind. You know, I never took it seriously for, you know, just being young and, you know, doing what I wanted, I guess. But even though I'm still young, I do want to be on the right path now. So I'd say definitely just pay attention, you know what you're getting into. Yeah, that's what I can say about that. Math, yeah. Pay attention to math. Math is a big one.
Joey, there's a question in the chat to talk about how you kind of start the apprenticeship program within your company. What's kind of the onboarding process or the training process for new apprentices?
So the onboarding process is, you know, obviously come in to apply. We'll kind of ask you a series of questions, and we bring you on and then see how much you do like it. Because sometimes people jump into things and realize, look, like, this is not for me. I didn't realize it. So what we usually have is a 2 or 3 month vetting process, I guess, is just to make sure that this is what you want to do as getting into the skilled trades or getting into heating and cooling. Once you come up to me and say, okay, yes, this is what I want to do for a living, we'll go ahead and put you into the apprenticeship program. So we'll sign you up through the state of Iowa as an apprentice, and then schooling starts. Our schooling is each year apprentice is a different night. So first year apprentices is Tuesday nights, second year Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Or I'm sorry, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for each year of apprentice that you are. And those are all at night too. So you work during the day. They start at 5 o'clock, and I think they go till like 8 o'clock at night. So it's just 1 day a week, and that goes from September till April of the following year. And then all summer long, you have nothing but time to work. So it's a true earn while you learn type situation. So you're earning money and learning in the field during the day. And then at nighttime, you're doing the book work and the classes and just studying and fine-tuning what your craft is going to be.
So what does your pay look like now, and what's it look like in the future? I know you did that for the panel, but can you describe?
Yep.
kind
So
of that again?
first hiring on, you're going to be around at $15 an hour. Is that right? $15 an hour. And then once you jump into that apprenticeship, we'll bump you up to 16 because that shows that you're serious about what you're doing, and then we're willing to invest in you. So you get $16 an hour. After you pass that first year, you're at 17. After you pass the second year, 18. Third year, 19. Fourth year, 20. Once you're at $20 an hour, then, and you've graduated your apprenticeship program, your next step now is to get into your journeyman license. Once you get your journeyman license, that's when the real fork in the road happens is, okay, you just took 4 years apprenticeship, learning everything about heating and cooling. Now what do you want to hone down into? Do you want to do design, new construction, replacement, service? Heck, it could be in 4 or 5 years, we could have something else be on our plate as well. So, and then once they decide on what route they're going, then it's just the amount of responsibilities they're taking. And then you can go upwards of $30 an hour. It depends on what route you're going.
So you mentioned other things happening, so like the new administration is gonna be more about green energy and things like that, so
Correct.
what would those other things in green energy be that you guys do?
Geothermal. Geothermal is a huge green energy when it comes to heating and cooling. And also, more and more people are getting into wanting net zero homes. And what that means is being off-grid. They don't want to pay utilities through Mid-Am or Alliant or wherever you're at. So that could be solar panels, and then hooking the solar panels directly up to your heating system. Your heating and cooling is about 70% of the cost of your utilities in your house, and even commercial work. So the more efficient they can get their heating and cooling, the better off they're going to be. So it could, like I said, geothermal, we've been doing geothermal for about 15 years now. It's great, we love it. It's basically, you have an air conditioner sitting outside. What it does is it eliminates that air conditioner, and then it drills loops down into the ground, and then that's where your storage tank is at. So in the summertime, with a typical heating and cooling system, you're taking the warm air from your house and then you're pumping it and pushing it outside. With a geothermal system, what you're doing is taking the warm air from the house and then you're putting it into the ground, or the ground absorbs it, and it's basically filling up your fuel tank. And then during the wintertime, it takes that heat and it puts it back into your house. So that's what makes it more efficient. It's a constant temperature below the grade, and that's where your efficiency level hits. So geothermal, and then I can see within the next 5 years, potentially us getting into solar panels as well. Another thing, you have hydronics too. So in heating and cooling, you do have a little plumbing work also. So radiant floor heating, boilers, that a lot of people think that's a plumber's job, but it's not. It's heating and cooling. Heating and cooling takes care of all the hydronic work as well.
Joey, you mentioned the journeyman license. How many hours of on-the-job training do you need to have in order to take that test?
I believe is around 4 years is more than enough. Like you have more hours than you need to take the journeyman test after your 4th year apprenticeship. I think it's like 2,000 hours or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But
I believe that it's 2,000 a year, so 8,000 total.
okay.
Yep.
Sure. Like I said before, like if you're obviously Derek's working full time and he's going to have more than enough to take the journeyman test by the end of the 4 years.
Yeah.
That's another reason to get this right in. So when you go to like a DMAC or a Vatterott or a Kirkwood or anything like that, it kind of takes away from the on working with your hands on the job training, which that's where it gets kind of difficult. So if you were to go to DMAC, let's say, and take their 2-year apprenticeship or 2-year program training, when you come to work at Metro, you're instantly into that 3rd-year apprenticeship. But the problem is you don't have the hours a lot of times to be able to take that journeyman test right out the gate after your 4th year. So that can be kind of an issue. So sometimes you might have to work 2.5 years before you get that journeyman license. Also, when it comes to our apprenticeship training, I can't talk for everybody, but this is how my company does it, is we'll actually pay for your apprenticeship training. So So Derek here is going to pay 50% of the training. After the 4th year, or I'm sorry, after his 5th year, I as Metro will pay him 50% of his 50%, and then after year 6, I'll pay him the remaining 50%. Meaning, so after working 6 years at Metro, your apprenticeship training is 100% paid for. So on top of you're getting your pay bumps through the years, if you work for me 2 years after your journeyman license, you'll get your school fully paid for.
There's a question.
We had another question that came through in the chat, and it just kind of identifying the difference between commercial or residential and in the training that you would need.
Training. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
If you were to specify, commercial or residential, or do you receive the same training and then you just select which area you want to concentrate?
Correct. Commercial is everything that residential is, except on a bigger scale. As opposed to, so residential, the biggest air conditioner you can put in is a 5-ton unit. Commercial, you can get the 30 tons. They're just giant. If you go down to your basement and look up and see the ductwork, and then go to a place like Wells Fargo Arena, or what's the Cedar Rapids, Four Seasons Arena or whatever, and you look up there, basically you're going to see the same thing, except obviously on those places is this giant amounts of airflow that's running through the ductwork. So it's kind of the same thing. I like the smaller stuff, obviously personally, just because it's more manageable, I guess, and I'm not huge on heights. So if you're not afraid of heights, commercial might be good for you too. In commercial, literally, sometimes you can walk through the ductwork while you're suspended all the way up there in the air. So it is kind of trippy a little bit, but yeah, it just depends on what scale you want to be on. But it's the same principles. It's just on a different size scale.
If there's any other questions, feel free to put those in the chat. We've caught up with everything that's been listed so far. And maybe I'll give just a little bit of time for those that are listening to come up with those questions. But if you were to sell HVAC in a 15-second commercial as a career pathway, how would you do it? How would you explain it? And why should they select this pathway?
HVAC isn't going away. It's always going to be needed. You're in the wintertime when it's cold, people's furnace is going to break down. You need heat to survive. That's where we come into play. In the summertime, it gets super humid here. It gets really clammy. People can't live without air conditioning anymore. Air conditioning isn't really that old of a technology, really, but people can't live without it. So when that air conditioner breaks down, we're the person who they call. And there is no really off season. It's just constantly, people need us. And we're probably the most in need of help right now compared to the plumbers and electricians and the carpenters of the world, because for whatever reason, heating and cooling doesn't really get that much mentioned in schools or anything like that. Everybody knows plumbers, everybody knows electricians. Not very many people know heating contractors. So if you want to get into a trade that's not going to go away, heating and cooling is that trade.